Hello and welcome to Happy Horror Time. My name is Tim Murdoch.
And my name is Matt Emmert. And happy February, everyone.
Happy Valentine's Day month, or as single people say, Happy Single Awareness Month.
Is that what people
I remember one time someone said that to me and I thought, shut the F up.
It's so funny because when I was single, I hated anything about couples for Valentine's Day. And then it's like, when I'm in a relationship, I don't hate anything about single stuff, but I kind of just feel like, just forget Valentine's Day altogether. It's like we have one day that we're supposed to celebrate love. Like, shouldn't that be every day, Tim?
Every day.
I want every day to be about love and appreciation and world peace.
I totally agree with you, Matt. I will say I don't usually think, of course I think about dying alone, but
wow.
No, but I mean when obviously it comes to the forefront, if you're not with a significant other on that very, very significant
dying
day.
alone, wouldn't that mean, but you have friends and people who care about you, so
those don't matter.
So if you don't have a significant other, you're alone? I don't think so. I think as long as you have people who care about you in your life, you're not going to die alone.
Listen,
Tim.
There's two pillows on a bed.
We'll be doing Happy Horror Time episode 2478 by that. Remember when you did, I'm sorry, I have to bring this up for listeners because there was a movie that came out 10 years ago called Countdown, and it was about it was an app or something that told you when you were going to die. And as a marketing scheme, brilliant marketing scheme, they let people download and find out when you're going to die. And I remember Tim's like, oh, I'll do it. I was like, don't, why would you want to know that? And Tim downloaded it and it said 12 years from now.
Yeah, it said 12 years, 78 days, and 2 hours.
And so we're a year or two away from that, Tim.
Yeah,
great.
So take a good look.
No, but it's just I guess, why would anybody want to know that? And how is that a fun thing? Hey, let me find out when I'm going to die.
What? I should download the app again.
You should. And it's 12 years. And it says again.
What if it says 2 years?
Don't even say
God.
that. Look, womp, 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 womp.
I like to start off podcasts on a really down
So let's
note.
talk about death. No, this wasn't our first episode in February. Last week, hopefully everyone caught our interview with Michael Tuff from the original Prom Night. He played Jamie Lee Curtis's little brother, who was also the killer, and we
Matt,
really
you just gave it away.
Oh God! Well, if you haven't seen Prom Night by now, you're 44 years late. Okay, but the reason we love this interview so much is because he doesn't do a ton of interviews. He wasn't in the biz a long time, so getting to talk to him, and we got to hear about working with Jamie Lee and Leslie Nielsen and being the killer. And I don't know, we all love Prom Night. Hopefully,
I love
you do.
Prom Night, and we just watched it again the other night, and it's so good. It's my favorite. I love the chase scene and the girl in the red dress.
Oh, Wendy, yes. Wendy. And but the weirdest thing is that the woman, the actor who plays Wendy, she also is in Halloween 2. She's walking with Pamela Susan Shoop at the beginning when they're walking from the party, and she's like, "You got to take me home. You promised." She's had 2 movies with Jamie Lee.
True, that's awesome. But her scenes weren't with Jamie Lee.
No, they weren't. But in this one, they're like nemesis. No, arch nemesis.
As you being a huge JLC fan, did you see her stint on The Bear? I didn't see it.
I didn't. Here's the thing. I've been hearing The Bear. Jacob and I watched the first episode, and it was pretty good, but not enough that we stayed with it, so we didn't watch anymore.
Did you think when you heard The Bear, it was about a hairy gay man?
I did. I think it was about a hairy gay man. I was like, where's the hairy gay man? And they're just making food at a restaurant. I was like, fuck this.
Yeah,
I'm out.
dumb.
I'm out. But so if you didn't catch that interview, it's really, if you know Prom Night, if you don't know Prom Night, watch it on Shudder. It's a great movie, and it was a really fun interview. And Michael Tuff's so nice. The best part is that he told us he dresses up as the ski mask killer he did for each of his daughter's proms. He went to their prom dressed as that, and I think
remember
that's
back
cool.
when my prom was in 1996, and
senior prom,
yeah. And I remember I don't even think. That was only 16 years after the Prom Night came out, but I still don't think it in 1996 it had the cultural impact.
No.
Then
it always takes time. It's all these movies get much more popular 20, 30 years from when they came out and stuff.
Agree.
So how's your month been so far, Tim?
Oh, it's been a month. I went to a bingo night at Hamburger Mary's, so I'm still recovering from that.
Did you win? Did you win anything? No.
It was to help pugs. And then the other time I went out, a friend moved in, and he got bottle service, and I'm still recovering from that too.
Where at?
The Abbey.
Oh,
the classy Abbey.
The classy Abbey where every bachelorette party now is held.
Right. But you know what? I had a great time. I'm not used to staying up. I remember I looked down at my watch and it said 1:47. It was pushing 2.
And what night of the week was this?
Tuesday.
Oh, wow. Well, God, that's I could not do that.
It's a once every 5 year kind of thing. So there you go.
And then next episode, Tim will be like, so I went to the Abbey and was out till 1:40.
It was interesting that in 1 week, I went to a bingo at a bar and then just went out to a bar.
That is just crazy. It's like you live in West Hollywood or something.
I know. Oh, and then I went to another birthday party. And it was at Hamburger Mary's. And help me out with the drag name.
Well, these are all, for listeners who don't live in LA, these are all bars in the West Hollywood, like the gay strip, basically. And you saw performing from RuPaul's Drag Race this current season, Amanda Tori Meeting.
Right. So I didn't know the night of her hosting the event was the night she was eliminated.
It had to be on purpose.
Why would you plan that?
Because it's almost like, look, guys, like I got eliminated from the show, but I'm still here thriving kind of thing.
True,
you know?
That's true. She did sing Girls Just Not Fun.
We watched Drag Race and we really liked her.
Episode?
Yeah, we saw the episode. It sucked because there's this one drag queen, Plain Jane, who continues to like make fun of her and put her down, but not in like a funny way, just in a mean way. Right. And the first time it was like, oh, being shady. And then it got to just be mean. And what we liked about Amanda is that she stood up for herself. Like she called this drag queen out and said like, what is your problem with me? This isn't funny. So I liked Amanda Tori Meeting. I would have loved to see her perform.
I thought her personality was great. She was talented and on stage doing the show, she was fantastic.
On the show, it's funny because she got in the final lip sync before they eliminate someone. She was definitely the better one of the lip singer, but like the other one she was going up against had done so well in all the weeks before that it was almost like there was no way Rue was gonna let her stay. But like, wow, that's a lot of Drag Race talk. But
no, but I have one more last thing to say about Drag Race. Okay, so as someone who hasn't seen, I only saw this one episode and I met a meeting. So I went into this season completely blind, not knowing anything. So one of my favorite things to do when I watch Drag Race is to see like which guy looks hot out of drag. And I hate to say it, but I was most attracted to Plain Jane.
Well, yeah, that's a great shallow way to look at Drag Race.
I know.
Well, it's just so it's so much different. Also, now there are a lot of the contestants are actually transgender. So even out of drag, they don't consider themselves guys. So like some of the contestants,
I mean, what I'm trying to say is like
but I see what you're saying.
The makeup and the hair.
Yeah,
and the dress.
They call them that. They call that the trade of the season.
Right. Like
Plain Jane is a good-looking guy. She's just such a bitch as a drag queen.
That's what I'm saying. Like I was watching the episode because it was longer than an hour, right?
It's always a little longer. Yeah.
So as I was watching it, my attraction went to the queens with more personality.
Well, that's good. That shows you are not a shallow person.
So during an hour and a half, it shifted.
And that's the thing. Like, it's so funny. Like, Tim roots for the person he wants to fuck. No,
true.
No. A mandatory meeting was great. They always kept saying that like her drag wasn't polished. I don't even know what that means.
Well,
but like,
they took risks. They had like the 3 eggs in a nest.
Oh yeah,
she
had on that thing. Yeah,
I wouldn't even know how to explain that.
I have too much to explain. My life is so different than Tim's. The highlight of our last week or so is that our new dog Darla, which if you follow me on Instagram, personally, that's where I've been posting a lot of pictures of Darla. She's almost to a black lab mix, and she's just the greatest dog ever. But we took her to the first dog park, and we were so excited because when we take her on walks, she's so excited to talk to.
She does
go
talk
up to every other dog. So we thought, oh my God, it's going to be heaven for her at a dog park. We take her, and at first she was really timid. Like she was like too much. Like, but then she warmed up and was hanging out with the dogs. But the best part of that is that, she's only been with us for a few weeks, is that she would respond to her name, which is a new name. And when we would call her from like far away, she would come running to us. So it felt like, she knew we were her owners.
You made an impression.
Well, or that she knows that we're her humans or her people, and she knows her name. So that was the highlight of our last week. Taking our dog to the dog park.
Your dog is so loving. She's actually in the room with us right now.
She's next to us right now.
Sleeping.
Yeah, well, as we're recording, Darla, and we're like, don't want to get her all riled up, but like, she's the best. She has been the greatest, but we're trying, we're getting adjusted to having a dog. So like all these things are new to us. Dog parks. And,
I love that us talking is putting your dog to sleep.
Oh, well, she was asleep before we even started. She's like, oh, here comes the podcast. She's like, how often do you do this? So for this week, we went a little bit against our normal formula formula, which is like to talk about a movie that just came out, whether it was on demand or in theaters. This movie actually came out in October, but it didn't hit Shudder until just a couple weeks ago. So it's new to like a service that a lot of listeners
and
have.
Plus, I think if you're a horror fan, you should definitely see it.
Yes, this is it. The movie's called Suitable Flesh. And again, it was on my radar back in October, but it was very limited theater release and it was on demand. And I don't know, there was so much going on in October, we didn't get to talk about it. So then we saw, okay, it just came to Shudder at the very end of January. So that's kind of a new release in a way. So we thought we would talk about it for this episode.
I am so happy we are talking about
And there
it.
are a lot of stars in this because first off, the main star is Heather Graham, which obviously everyone knows from the opening scene of Scream 2.
And Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights. She was in The Spy
From Hell.
Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me. What else was she in?
She had a big one that I feel like
she
we're
was in like
missing.
some romantic comedy, ridiculous movie, but she's been in a ton. It also stars Barbara Crampton, who's like a big horror scream queen. She was in Reanimator. She was in You're Next. She was in what was the other movie? Jacob's Wife, I think it was called. That came out last
Jacob's
year.
Wife.
But she was also in that other movie. I always get confused with Reanimator. Came out like a year later, and it was like Reanimator.
Beyond something.
Beyond something.
The Beyond.
From Beyond. Yeah,
From Beyond.
From Beyond. So she is like a scream queen. So her, Heather Graham, and then I'm going to
she
mispronounce
was
his
also
name.
in Chopping Mall.
Oh, yes, Chopping Mall
That
with
was
Kelly
the one,
Maroney.
yeah.
And then it also Jonathan Sheik.
You're looking at me for name
I know.
pronunciation.
But tell me what he was in because, Tim, you know this better than me.
The guy that played Azza?
No. The guy that was her husband, Heather Graham's husband.
Oh my God, Jonathan Sheik?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was in Doing That Thing You Do. I can't sing that, but he was also married to Christine Applegate.
Oh,
yeah.
But wasn't he in
Prom Night 2008?
He was the killer in Prom Night 2008.
Isn't that weird that we talked to both? Well, we didn't talk to Jonathan.
No, we didn't talk to
but we watched him in this
But
movie.
you know what I remember about the Prom Night remake? Thinking this killer is too hot to be scary. Remember?
Yeah, I was like, I wouldn't push him away.
We're watching the movie, and he's like, first off, it's not even a remake. It's a completely different
reimagining.
movie. I mean, it's more like, hey, let's use the title, put it at prom, and have nothing to do with the original.
Well,
but the
it was
killer
a
is
good
hot.
time. It was a good time.
It just, it's not that he's not a good actor. He's a great actor, but like casting wise, I would have cast someone who looks scarier.
No,
as
and the
that
thing
role.
about a horror film is you put a mask on someone, it already ups the scare level
Of course.
times 10. And they're like, hey, here's a guy in a hat.
Yeah, he had no mask and he was hot, so it's like, ooh,
Like,
he's
who's
coming
this?
after us.
Hey, tall, dark, and handsome's coming near me.
Oh God, get away,
Don't
get away.
run that way, run that way.
Yeah, just run into his crotch, Tim.
Okay, I will.
Okay, there's one other person in this movie, and his name is Judah Lewis, and he is famous for being the kid in the Babysitter, and then he being older in the Babysitter Part 2, Killer Queen with Jenna Ortega. So he's had quite a career, and I thought, is he still young? But he's like 20-something because he doesn't do anything young in this movie.
We have got the World Wide Web. We can get his exact age.
I think it's Judah Lewis, and again, you'll know him from the Babysitter and everything. Oh, he is 22 years old. So he's still very young.
Oh my God, he made out with Heather Graham. I'm giving it away a little bit, but he made out with Heather Graham as a 22-year-old?
Yeah. So anyway, we were excited about this movie because there's a lot of names in it, and I saw the trailer, and I will say the trailer looked batshit crazy, but in a way that was appealing. Like, I think we both watched the trailer, and we were like, what the fuck? Let's watch it.
No, it reminded me of like an erotic 90s thriller,
Yes.
but with a funny little tone to it.
Campiness. And I will say this, what I like about this is the trailer didn't give away that this movie is like a body swap horror movie. I didn't get that from the trailer.
I couldn't make heads or tails from that
Not
trailer.
at all. But that's kind of good, you know,
Did
because
you like how I said heads or tails like I'm 90?
Hey, I couldn't make heads or
I
tails.
couldn't make heads or tails of the trailer.
You know, he was a tall drink of water. That always reminds me
I
of
love
older
saying
people.
that.
So, okay, it starts with Barbara Crampton plays a psychiatrist. Her name's Dr. Daniela Upton, and she's like in the morgue looking at a body, and she goes to talk to Heather Graham, who's in a padded cell, and she is begging Barbara Crampton that the dead person in the morgue needs to really be dead, or it can still get her, and it'll be forever. That's all she says, and Barbara Crampton's like, what are you talking about? And then we go into the story, and it tells the story through flashback.
I mean, I wasn't blown away by that opening, but it's fine because it's already bonkers from the get-go that you're like, okay, where's this going?
It's just one of those, it's kind of like I don't want to say trope because it's not a horror trope, but it's like tons of movies, they start with something in like present day and then they go back to tell what led up to this.
Like 10 days earlier.
Yeah, they're like what led up to this moment. But you're right, it wasn't like a crazy opening. So we go back and we find out that Heather Graham is named Dr. Elizabeth Derby, Beth for short, which I thought was weird because don't Elizabeths usually go by Liz?
I mean, I don't know
I've
any
never met
Liz's or Elizabeth. Oh, I guess
I've
I do
never
know
met
Elizabeth.
a Beth that was named Elizabeth. Is that weird? I've only met Liz's that were named Elizabeth.
But haven't you heard growing up people saying, "Hey, Lizbeth"? Hey, Lizbeth.
Hey, Liz Betch. I thought you were gonna say,
Bitch.
Liz Bitch. That's the only one I've heard. So she goes by Beth. She's a psychiatrist too. And it flashes back and this young guy who is the guy Judah Lewis that we were talking about shows up at her office. And first off, he has an odd name, or maybe it's just odd to me, but his name is Asa. ASA.
Asa?
No, Asa.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
like
hated his
Asia
name.
without the I.
Yeah, I didn't care for that.
Asa. And he comes into her office and he says, I was outside my body. So right away, she thinks he's crazy. And so he keeps saying his father has power over him and wants his body. Now, right away when I heard that, I was like, that sounds creepy. My dad wants my body.
I honestly, this should have been the opening of the movie because I thought it was so much more riveting. I was interested, because Heather Graham's so interested and enthralled with him. He's acting so weird. I was like, this is interesting.
Yes, he gets a phone call and he hears something over the phone and it's like he gets taken over and he starts to have this dramatic seizure where he is shaking and it's almost comical. I want to say we were sort of laughing because I just kept thinking, wow, the poor actor who has to be like shaking uncontrollably with
I also
this.
think it was speeded up film, if that's even a word.
Sped up, yeah.
Sped up.
I mean, speeded, I guess.
I speeded it up.
I speeded it up. But yeah, he's shaking, whatever. He gets taken over. And suddenly, when he stops shaking, he's totally different. Like, he's transformed and he's like Mr. Cool Cat. And he's like, hey, baby. Like,
and you know what? She is so turned on.
She is so into it. Here's the thing. If I am I don't know because I'm not a therapist. If I see someone having a seizure and then they start
Call
acting
911.
Yeah, they start acting different, I'm not gonna be like, hey, let's see where this goes. Like, I'd be calling 911 and she doesn't.
Well, we also need to talk about, why did he have a flip phone?
Yeah, he did have a flip phone.
Like,
what year was
is it?
that?
Yummy a Coke.
Jinx. So but rather than like being concerned, she's like so interested. She says she wants to help him.
Yeah, she's like, here's my home phone number. Here's my address. Call me anytime.
All her info. And we're like, this is really weird. And then to make things even more inappropriate, before he leaves, he puts his hand between her legs and grabs her puss. I mean, over the clothes,
Matt.
but like, I mean, is that true or is that
Yes.
true? Yeah. I mean, and rather than being like, this guy just assaulted me, like not going to deal with him, she's intrigued.
Right. She's like, where's this going?
She's like, okay, sure. So she goes home and we find out her husband is Jonathan Shake.
But they're making it sound, maybe they do have a boring marriage, but he's so smoking hot that I'm like, you could make it work.
Well, they have a sex scene, but during the sex scene, she starts imagining that it's this young guy, Asa, and as soon as she sees him as her husband, she gets all into it. It's like, oh!
Which, I mean, I was having flashbacks to like the 90s with the erotic thrillers and like, because that's the way they were filmed.
Yeah.
And I thought it was done, first off, as a gay man,
Stop the press. You're a gay man.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just saying, Heather Graham is such a movie star. I couldn't take my eyes off of her. And she could do anything. I'm just saying.
So during the sex scene, you were watching her, is what you're saying.
I was watching him, but it wasn't him. It was just weird.
It was weird. They didn't show a lot. Here's the thing. It was funny. I remember you saying this is graphic. It was graphic in terms of moaning and stuff, but they didn't show a lot.
Right.
Like, to me, graphic is like you're seeing like his butt thrusting into. Like, you're not seeing that. There's just a lot of over the top moaning. And as soon as she imagines that it's the young guy,
she kind of taken
totally into it. So she's so intrigued that the next day she goes to, because she got the guy's address, she goes to Asa's address and she finds this old man there. It's this like old sick man who she appears to be his dad. And he says that Asa left days ago and he's acting really weird. He's really sick. He has a knife. He cuts her finger. It was really weird.
Well, he also was having a heart attack. And so she's shoving pills down his throat.
Yeah, he had pills. And also he's smoking a joint and he's blowing these perfectly circular, what are they called? Smoke rings.
Which, I don't know if those were CGI rings. I'm going to say yes.
I'm going to say yes only because I think the amount of takes to get that actor to get perfect circular.
My uncle, when I was a kid, could do them perfectly, no problem.
Really? I know people who could do that, but like that takes time.
It's
like
a
that's a skill. Yeah. So she is just like, she doesn't know. She's like, is this the father who's so-called wanting his body? She's not quite getting it, but the father's acting really weird and he's really sick. Well, so later she's with a different patient and Asa shows up again and he keeps repeating again that his dad.
Before we get there, we do have to, I mean, I know you already said it, but he does cut her finger and it's like very symbolic because whoever's doing the rings of these smoke things is the devil?
It's a well, you don't know at that time, but
demon?
The dad is not the dad at that time. Yeah. There's some demon inside him. And when he cuts her finger, like blood drips on this book that I can only describe as looking like the book from The Evil Dead.
Yes, perfect example.
And it's like, and I'm like, oh God, now she's in it. Like she's going to be taken over. Like something's going to happen. And when Asa comes back to her office the next day and he keeps saying his dad wants his body, again, it's easy to laugh at that and be like, that sounds like a molestation. Yes. But no, it's more like wants to take over his body. And so he keeps saying this and he finally leaves and then he calls her at home and says it's happening. And she's like, she doesn't even know what he means. And she's like, I'll be right there. And she like leaves her husband, goes over to his house. And the dad's having a heart attack. But Asa is saying, let him die, let him die. Let him die. That's not my dad. Someone stole his body and is trying to get mine.
And there was some kind of rule, like if the body transfers 3 times, it's stuck there.
Yes. And so what happens is he basically explains to her that whatever is in his dad, it keeps swapping bodies with him, like Freaky Friday style.
Or vice versa with Fred Savage. Or like Father Like Son.
Wait, Fred Savage?
Fred Savage was in Vice Versa with Judge Reinhold.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. Wait, what other body swap? And then there's Freaky, obviously.
There's Freaky, and then there's the one with Kirk Cameron and Dudley Moore called like Father Like Son.
Oh my God.
I'm taking you back.
Well, this one was but it's like demon body swap type thing. So he's saying, no, you need to let him die, or if he swaps back into my body, like it'll be there for good. And they say, you can't just let him die. You have to like cut out his brain. That's the only way to kill him.
I thought it was cut off the head.
Cut off his head. Oh, sorry. Cut off his head, but something had to be ruined in his brain. Something like that. So the dad...
It's like the rules of Gremlins.
The dad rises up and says some weird chant. Do the Chucky chant, Tim.
Do we dumb better? Give me the power, I beg of you.
That's like our go-to chant.
I don't want to wake your dog.
And right away, right as he does the chant, him and Asa transform. And Asa's back to being Mr. Cool Guy. And like obviously the demon is in Asa's body. And Asa starts to now the dad like basically dies on the floor. Asa has the demon in him, and now he starts hitting on Heather Graham.
Oh, yeah. So
and she's okay with it.
This is so bizarre because, okay, first off, this old man has had a heart attack.
And is dead on the floor.
So then she's having a conversation with
Asa, who's been Asa. Well, it's not Asa because it's the demons in him, but she saw him have a seizure. He's totally different. And then, like, literally, the dad's dead on the floor. He starts hitting on her. She's okay with it. And then they start having sex.
Right. Like, which is so bonkers because they should be calling 911 because there's a dead man on the ground.
You would think as a therapist, maybe she'd have, like, some moral obligation
This is when I thought, okay, this is the tone of this movie. Like, the movie knows the tone. And as a viewer, you know the tone.
It is campy.
Right. It's camp. So I'm okay with all of this.
Yeah. I was fine with it. I was kind of laughing a little, but, like, as he's having sex with her, it's like really heightened. And he's like, as it looks like he's like climaxing or something, he says the chant and he and Heather Graham like start shaking and literally the demon transfers into her body for just like a second. Then it transfers back. And there's so much shaking in this scene between her and him as actors that it became a little hilarious.
I know. Well, first off, Heather Graham is on like all fours and she's shaking uncontrollably. And I'm sure just as an actress, you'd be like, what am I doing?
She's like, what did I sign up for here?
This is nuts.
Like, the thing is that it's cool to watch with the music and with the film sped up and the special effects. But we kept thinking, like, what was it like when you filmed the raw take of just shaking?
Obviously, there was like quiet on the set and like this just an actor just shaking, which has got to look so weird to everyone.
Oh my God. But again, we're we're totally glossing over the fact that like the dad just died of so-called of a heart attack, and then she fucked the son. First off, she's married. There's that.
Oh yeah.
Then she fucked a guy who was supposed to be her patient, and while his dad was dead on the ground, totally acceptable.
So then like he leaves and then comes back and chops off the head.
Well, see, so what happens is that the demon is in Asa's body. The real Asa was transferred into the dad's dead body, and he cuts the dad's head off, and while his head is decapitated, his eyes open, and this is when it gets really campy.
Right,
I mean, it's like,
I know it was CGI dead head, but it actually was. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Like it was, and like he opens his mouth and blood comes out. So I was kind of like, this is awesome.
It was kind of funny. Like, and after this whole crazy occurrence, Heather Graham, Beth, she goes to visit Barbara Crampton because apparently they're friends. They're both therapists. They've bonded. They have some sort of bond.
They have like a secret little handshake.
They have this handshake where they say like, what do they say? Like, here for you, always and forever. It's like some weird thing.
I didn't mind. It was cute.
So she tries to tell Barbara Crampton what happened, but that's really tough to explain. And Barbara Crampton just kind of thinks...
she had a little blood on her shirt, which we didn't see in the scene for some reason.
Yeah, but Barbara Crampton just thinks she's feeling guilty for fucking her patient. Like, she's not believing any of this, like, body swapping shit. And what happens is Beth... Heather Graham goes back and tells her husband that she fucked the patient, and he is not happy, of course. And it kind of sucks because he's such a good-looking man. What is she cheating on him for?
Jonathan Sheck or whatever, he's 55, and then the other guy's 22.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, to each their own, whatever you want.
I think what we're supposed to think is it's not that it's because, remember, she's only into him when the demon's in him. So it's something about this allure of this demon. It's not really just a 22-year-old guy, you know? But so there's a funny part where Heather Graham has a dream sequence where she's in her office and Asa, as the demon, comes into her office and starts going down on her while she's sitting in a windowsill. And Tim and I saw this coming a mile away. And then, of course, he pushes her out the window.
Yeah, I was like, that's a dream.
Yeah, and well, actually, before he pushes her out the window, she looks down and it's not Asa, the young guy, eating her out. It's her dad.
Ew.
And he pushes her out the window and she falls. And then, of course, she wakes up and it's a dream. But like, obviously, this demon has some hand, like like a hold over her.
But this is the interesting part, is because I always thought the person, when they do the body switching, they have to be in the same room. Not true. You can switch bodies over the phone.
Over the phone, as long as you say this chant. And you'll see later in the movie when you get to it, you don't even have to be in the phone. You just say it and like think of the person. And I was like, so they lost a little credibility because I'm like, you could be anywhere.
At least have this rule.
Exactly.
Like, what if I was in China and you text message it to me?
You would be on the floor shaking.
Oh, dear.
Shaking in your boots, and then you'd be fucking your therapist. And pushing him or her outside of a window.
That is the movie in a nutshell.
And that's the tea, Tim. Let's bring back Tim's favorite phrase, everyone. The one that I thought he said that he never said. And then for one whole episode, I just kept saying, and that's the tea. Oh, beautiful. Anyway.
Amanda miss a meeting.
So we miss a meeting. It's a mandatory meeting.
Mandatory spelling.
Okay, Amanda, Tori, and then meeting. So Amanda, Tori, meeting. Now do it. You do it.
Amanda, Tori, meeting.
You got it. You could be her biggest fan, Tim.
Well, I gave her plenty of ones.
Hey, Amanda, miss a meeting. You should say that.
Hey, Amanda Peterson.
Oh, God.
That's from Can't Buy Me Love, R.I.P.
Oh, R.I.P. Anyway, so we switch to a next scene, and now Asa, as the demon, handcuffs himself to a pole, but he's in his underwear, and we never find out why he has to be in his underwear during the scene. It's very weird.
Unclear, and they weren't even cute underwear. It was like old man boxers.
Old man boxers for a 22-year-old, but he calls up Beth, Heather Graham, says the chant to her over the phone, and they body swap again. So now the demon's in Heather Graham, and Heather Graham's in poor little underwear, boxer wearing
in a
Asa.
basement or wherever the heck that was. And
handcuffed.
This is where the movie really takes flight, because she's changed, she looks in the mirror and she's like loving her body. She's like, wow.
I think we're supposed to infer that this demon has never been in a woman's body,
so
because
it's all new.
She starts like touching her boobs, touching her puss. Like, she is. I will say this: Heather Graham did great in this scene.
Heather Graham is a movie star.
She was like, number one, she was so game for this. Number two, she did a great job of playing different parts.
It's weird to see Heather Graham in this kind of role, just because, like, when I think comedy or anything, I don't think Heather Graham.
No, but I mean, this is really dark comedy horror.
It's dark comedy,
it's very dark.
It's funny.
This is horror, but I would say campy horror. That's the the thing.
Horror
because
comedy can't be adjacent.
Yeah, exactly. So what happens is Beth, with the demon in her, is suddenly all horny, and her husband gets home, and he's still pissed at her for cheating, but this isn't Beth, this is the demon in her, and she starts like hitting on him. And again, I think the moral of this movie is sex, I guess, just is more powerful than anything, because she starts seducing him with a knife.
Yeah, she takes this knife, shoves it up his underwear, and then cuts his underwear off.
Which I thought was a cool trick.
I thought that was like, wow, she's really good with that knife. And then she takes the knife and like takes off his buttons of his shirt, and then she has like on her pink robe, she ties him around his neck.
Yeah, and then
I was like, that's kind of scary.
And then she starts having sex with him, and they have this long scene of her basically riding him and laughing maniacally. It's really funny because she's
laughing.
like,
and then the camera like goes upside down.
All of it. It is really funny because she is riding him, but and he's loving it, even though, so I think he's not mad at her anymore.
I know, but he's like, 2 seconds ago, he's like, we need to talk about your affair. And he's like, that's fine.
He's like, oh, you're taking my underwear off with a knife? Hey, works for me.
Right.
Good.
And then, so Barbara Crampton goes down to this basement.
Yeah, because Beth in Asa's body calls Barbara Crampton and is like, hey, can you come help me? And he says he's a friend of Beth's because, of course, he can't say I'm Beth as a guy's body. So Barbara Crampton comes, and sees him handcuffed in his underwear, and he's trying to say, no, I'm Beth. She thinks he's crazy.
But Beth has some things that only Barbara Crampton would know.
Yes. So she actually starts to say, remember when your affair happened and I kept it? And then Barbara Crampton's like, why would Beth
told anyone that?
Why would Beth tell you that? And he's like, no, I'm Beth. And they're trying to say that. It's very confusing, but I don't think Barbara Crampton just seemed confused. I don't know if she believed that he had actually body swapped.
My guess, or what the actors betrayed, is that she was slowly kind of coming around.
She was starting to believe it, but then suddenly they swap back. And now the demon is back in Asa's body, and the real Beth is back in Heather Graham's body.
Right, but we have to talk about, are you talking about the police that show up at the house?
Oh, yes. So, yes, but police show up. But what I think is funny about this scene is that her husband, suddenly he's missing the demon Beth. He's like, you want to go again? He's missing her.
Okay, so then when the cop was there and the detective, Heather's doing the change back, and she's on the ground having a seizure, and the police are like, are you okay?
And she's like, oh, yeah, I'm fine. They don't think that it's a little suspect that she's shaking on the ground.
I'm laughing hard because it's such a funny scene. And then when because Heather Graham's doing full comedy with the girl cop, she's like, oh, your name's Huxley.
Yeah, when she's still the demon.
Yeah. So then obviously she has the seizure, and then they leave, and
she's totally different. Yeah.
But this scene for me was really good because Jonathan from Doing That Thing You Do and Heather Graham had that conversation where he's saying I'm into whatever just happened.
Yeah.
And then he takes off his shirt and he shows his 3 little scrapes.
She had been, as the demon, she'd been cutting him during
and I was like, wait a second, you're into getting your chest cut?
And he was like, if you want to do it, and then he whispers to her, he's like, I've never came so hard.
I was like,
whoa.
Gross.
It was just really funny. And poor Heather Graham is probably thinking, what the fuck did that demon do to him?
Listen, I got to get away from here. I got to get away from you. She's like, I will either kill you or kill myself.
Yeah, she knows that, and she knows that she can't let this happen again. And she also knows she doesn't want the demon to come back in her body. So she goes to her office, and it looks like she's going to kill herself because she's kind of I'm not going to let the demon come back into this body. I'll kill myself. But of course, Asa as the demon shows up, and she tries to talk with him and tries to ask who he originally was, because obviously he's been swapping from body to body to body, and he doesn't really tell her. He first says he thought he was born a man because he just loves pleasure, but then he's like, but then I experienced pleasure as a woman, so maybe I was born as a woman. I don't know what that was.
I thought that was very interesting take. I mean, obviously it's the year 2024, so everyone's kind of a little more open to whatever.
Yeah.
So
well, I see what you're saying. It used to be. I know. I used to be. I'll explain what I think you're saying. Is that used to be men were only the only ones about just looking for pleasure. Women weren't supposed to back in the 50s, 60s, and then they realized that's dumb, and obviously now women can
just date whoever you want.
Exactly. And so, but Beth tries to outsmart him a little. She is a therapist, and she has a knife, and she holds it up, and she starts flashing a light in his eye slowly to hypnotize him.
Oh, that's right. Because earlier in the movie, with one of her clients, she hypnotizes
Yeah,
him.
yeah. And then while she's hypnotizing him, she stabs him right in the head and then pushes him out the window, but he's still alive.
It gets even better because then she goes downstairs. She gets in her car, and like in all cars now, I mean, I'm very lucky and fortunate now that my car has a backup cam.
Yeah, it's as soon as you put it in reverse, you get the camera. And yes,
and so she backs him up. I mean, she backs up her car.
She backs that thing up.
She backs that thing up. She smashes him. And then she doesn't just do it once. She does it like 3 times. I loved it.
The best part is, and this is all, I got to give credit to the director on this. We're watching this scene unfold through the rear view camera. So we are watching her smash into him over and over through the view of the rear view camera. And I've never seen that. It's a great shot.
And that's the part of the movie that I'm like, oh, okay, like I'm in on this. Like I'm not seeing a movie that's like trying too hard. Like,
oh, but it doesn't even end there because then she gets out of the car and starts stabbing him like a million times. Like blood is like spraying in her face right as the cops show up and probably are like, what the fuck are you doing?
I do have one question though. I don't know why this movie couldn't get the blood right. I mean, if I do have one little critique, the blood always looks orange in this movie.
It's orange, or at times it looks brown. At times it looked brown.
Why?
No, I agree. There were very many different shades. I guess if it was on purpose, maybe when it's the demon, the blood's slightly different. I don't know.
What's it called when you finish filming a movie? It's like coloring.
Color correction and that kind of thing.
And stuff. I was like, maybe something didn't get done.
Corrected. I don't know if it was on purpose, but I noticed that too. There was like orange shades of blood. There were brown shades. Like it was very weird.
I don't know.
Like she is just stabbing a million times. And now it goes back to that present scene where she is in a padded cell because they think
A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors.
Yeah, she's in a padded cell telling the story to Barbara Crampton, and they have gotten Asa's fucked up beyond relief body in the morgue, but she is trying to tell Barbara Crampton, no, he's not dead. The demon is not dead. You have to destroy the brain. And of course, what happens? The body of Asa wakes up in the morgue and he says the chant and he switches again with Heather Graham. So now Heather Graham is in this like demolished body.
Remember, the stabbed fell out of a window and crushed by a car body.
And she's trying to, she falls off the table onto a scalpel.
Yeah, this guy, like, why did he have a scalpel?
He was doing an autopsy on her. Right. Yeah. And then she starts trying to crawl out saying, I'm Elizabeth. Like, it's awful. Like, poor Heather Graham is in this awful body.
Just left that crawling body.
I mean, I would have, if I see a body that was that demolished crawling out, I'd be like, goodbye.
It didn't even have a leg, did it?
No, one of its legs. I mean, the amount of times it was smashed, it fell out a window, was stabbed in the head. And now Heather Graham is the demon with Barbara Crampton, and so suddenly her demeanor, of course, changes. And then she starts hitting on Barbara Crampton, grabs her puss too, and licks her face. Remember that?
Right. There was a lot of licking and grossness.
Well, again, the amount of times there's like total, I don't want to get all political, but sexual assault in this. And the people are just like, okay. Like, I mean, like they look a little uncomfortable, but they don't like, I was waiting for Barbara Crampton to like slap her or something. But I guess because she's confused.
They do have a full-blown fight.
They do have a fight. But I guess it's also, remember, it's Heather Graham's body. So she still thinks it's her friend.
Right. Well, they're literally punching each other, and then like doesn't Heather Graham like scrape her neck with her nails?
Yeah. Well, what happens is that Barbara Crampton finally asks her to tell her name, as in her Barbara Crampton's name, and she doesn't know it. And it clicks. This body swapping story she's been hearing is true.
Well, doesn't Barbara Crampton step out into the hallway and see the dead body?
The dead body saying, "I'm Elizabeth." So she knows that she finally believes the body swapping thing.
Oh, and when she goes in there for those, I mean, when she goes out into the hall for like those 2 seconds, the 2 orderlies, and it is the director, by the way.
The director plays an orderly who goes into the padded cell with Heather Graham, and then Heather Graham looks at them and says, "Hey, will you let me out? I'll suck your cock." And I'm just like, this demon is horny.
But the movie should be called Horny Devil.
Horny Demons, yeah. So basically, they have a big fight. Heather Graham and Barbara Crampton have a big fight. I'm just thinking that must have been so fun to film for them. Like, they are grabbing at each other. They are like throwing each other out of the room. But then Heather Graham says the chant, and the demon now goes into Barbara Crampton's body.
Well, you actually explained this to me because I was like, why are they doing that? And you're like, well, because Heather Graham has a gun.
So Heather, What happens is they do it a couple times. It starts to get a little over the top because they switch a couple times.
All I wanted to know was where is Heather Graham?
Heather Graham finally, when Barbara Crampton's herself, she sees the crawling body that Heather Graham's in, and the body says, "Kill me," and she finally shoots her because she knows. Yeah, that's the only way.
I don't know if you need 2 shots.
But it's really confusing because the demon keeps swapping between Barbara Crampton and Heather Graham's body at this time.
And there's a cop that's trying to felicitate?
To facilitate. Felicitate with Felicity Huffman. Yes, he's trying to figure out. He thinks Heather Graham's the criminal, but Barbara Crampton's saying, "No, that's me." Like, it's very confusing. They're swapping back and forth, and like, you don't know who is who, but the cop gets shot in the head.
Did he get shot twice?
I think he got shot, twice. And it's back to them fighting. And again, as a viewer, you're watching and you don't quite know which one is the demon at this time, which one isn't. And like, they're fighting, doctors are running to help. But as they're breaking up the fight, as a viewer, you're left wondering which body is the demon in. And it switches to maybe like the next day, and it's Barbara Crampton with Heather Graham's husband. And she's saying, unfortunately, she's lost her mind. She's in the padded cell. It's not her anymore. I'm so sorry. And then she sits back, she lights a joint, and she blows out some smoke circles, perfect circles. So you're like, oh my God, the demon's in Barbara Crampton's body. And they switch to Heather Graham's body in the padded cell, yelling, "No, I'm Dr. Upton. It's me. I'm not," yelling. And
that would
she's
be
stuck.
Something a crazy person might say.
Exactly. And she's in a straitjacket in a padded cell. So basically, the way we've ended is that Asa, he's long gone. He's
gone.
Dead. Heather Graham, Beth, she's long gone too. And Barbara Crampton, her soul is in Heather Graham's body in a straitjacket, and the demon is in Barbara Crampton's body. And so it leaves it like that.
It leaves Jonathan doing that thing you do, Shek. Just confused.
And saying like, who's going to rip off my underwear again with a knife?
Right. And scrape me with a knife. That was so, when he showed those
scrape me with your best shot.
Fire away. Thank you. Oh my God, you're turning into me.
I am turning into you. So and that's how it ends.
Oh my God, you're swapping bodies with me.
Oh my God. Look, Tim, I'm shaking. If I were turning into you, okay, I would be like, oh my God, that drag queen was so cute.
The bitch.
Oh, now do an impression of me.
Oh, my dog.
Okay, this is me doing you. Okay. Oh my God, I stayed out till 2 a.m. in West Hollywood last night. Okay, now do me.
Oh my God, I stayed home with my dog and I love him so much.
You're such a bitch and you're so right. Was my impression good too, Tim?
It was good.
Okay,
good job.
Good. Anyway, this movie is so campy and over the top, and I loved it.
Me too. I am so glad we watched it, because at first I was like, I
wasn't feeling it either. This is an example of a trailer. How many times have we seen movies where the trailer is way better than the movie? This is an example where the trailer didn't do the movie justice.
No, I mean, I will say I was intrigued by the trailer because I was like, what is the story? And I also thought with the movie like Suitable Flesh, I thought it was going to be, remember that movie that we watched, I would say a year or two ago, called Fresh Meat?
Yes, but that was good.
But that was a more serious tone. That guy was keeping girls in a house
and eating them.
And
right?
also, wasn't he also selling it to people?
I think so. But it was, yes, I remember.
So I thought, I was like, well, is this movie about cannibalism? Like, I didn't know.
I mean, I agree. When I saw the trailer, I knew it was erotic because in the trailer, like, it's Heather Graham being seduced by the young guy over and over. I had no idea it was body swapping. To be honest, this felt like this movie was like an evil Freaky Friday or like demon Freaky Friday.
Yes.
It really is. Like, if you say just that,
body swapping.
There's so much body swapping, but whereas most body swapping movies are like, mom and daughter have to experience a day in the life. This is like, no, this demon is jumping from body to body to take people over.
And I also like that Jonathan Shek and Heather Graham, they're like well into their 50s and still have a sex life.
You know what I love? I'm glad you mentioned that, because I used to think it's like, oh God, you only see 20-somethings or 30-somethings in sex scenes. It's like, I'm glad that we're seeing 40 and 50-somethings in sex scenes, because,
Jonathan
people still have sex.
Yes.
And they still look great. Okay, not only do they look great, Barbara Crampton looks great, and is she in her 60s?
I have no idea.
if she was in Shopping Mall in the 80s, let's say she's in her late 50s.
She's at least 60.
Everyone in this movie, Heather Graham looks gorgeous.
It's a beautiful
Jonathan
cast.
Schaech looks great. Barbara Crampton looks like flawless. And the young guy, of course, is cute, but he's like 22. Everyone's cute at 22.
Well, just kidding.
But like, yeah, they're all looking great. But I do have to say, from a performance standpoint, like I got to give it to Heather Graham, because her playing
She's so
both
funny.
her and the demon, especially when she was horny, it was so good. Like if there's horror awards, like she needs to win some horror award for that performance, because it was good.
For me, if I read this script and I saw like horny this, horny that, it would like scare me away. I don't know if because everyone's offering me horny scripts.
Well, but remember, Heather Graham's been in Boogie Nights. This ain't her first sex scene.
She's not scared, and I think that makes a really brave. I hate to say, like, they're a brave actor, but it is like,
I think so. I think people that don't shy away from nudity when it is warranted, and this movie did. And Heather Graham showed her boobs in this, 50-something, showing her boobs, totally comfortable. She looks great.
Hollywood is not particularly
kind,
sweet,
especially to females.
No.
They're not kind, and she looked great, and she's fearless. But I think, again, after doing Boogie Nights, like, there's not much to be scared of. True, that was 30 years ago, but
close,
in the 90s,
close, 97, yeah.
Oh, okay, 90, yeah, so 25.
Close.
But it just all around, I think, here's the thing, it's not that this movie is scary. I don't want to give people the wrong idea that you're going into this.
As far as jump scares, if you've never seen a movie before, sure.
I would venture to say zero jump scares. It's not a scary movie. It is a campy movie, very bloody, but it's enjoyable. Like I remember we were watching and we knew it was kind of campy, but we were intrigued. Like it was interesting, but it's also not, even though it's kind of dark comedy-ish, it's not...
it's never boring.
It's never boring, but it's also not ridiculous. You know how so many horror comedies, many that we've talked about on this podcast, don't know how to strike the right tone?
Yes,
this one did. That's what I was going to say. It knew what it was.
Yes. Oh my God. I felt like you swapped my body.
Tim, okay, I'm going to be you again.
Okay, please do.
Wait, what did you say? It speeded it up.
Speeded it up.
It speeded it up. And you also, what did you say when you tried to say facilitate? You said
I said facility.
Felicitied. Look, when you Felicity that.
When you Carrie Russell it.
Look, as soon as you bring Carrie Russell into it, it's like, you know what? I could see Carrie Russell and Heather Graham's
would
role
be very
too.
good. Yeah. I mean, it's just when you have because Heather Graham's known for being gorgeous. So when you have a gorgeous actress acting so silly and so horny, it's entertainment.
And I gotta say, the young actor in this, Judah Lewis, who was in The
great.
Babysitter, he was good, but like, what a great film to be in. Not only, first off, he gets to fuck Heather Graham.
Oh my goodness.
He gets to be two parts, because he's like him when he's all nervous, and then him as the demon where he's Mr. Cool. He gets to do gory stuff. Like, it must have been so much fun to make this movie.
That is a actor's dream.
I would say so. And also, like, what I love about like someone like Barbara Crampton is that she has embraced her like role
Horror
in this
roots.
genre. She knows that people know her for horror, and rather than being like, oh, I did that a long time ago, like she continues to do horror, but not just horror, like good horror.
Yeah.
And she continues to do it, and she loves doing it. And she was in this movie and had a great time.
And you told me right before we started, she was also in Superhost, right?
Yes, she was in Superhost.
That's a good one too. Check it out.
Really fun movie that we reviewed like during the pandemic, I think.
It seems like a while.
Kind of crazy movie, but like again, she's just making really good choices in terms of like she's picking horror movies that are really great.
She's also a producer on the film.
Oh, well, then I guess that
Right?
makes sense.
Oh no, Heather Graham was. Never mind. I don't know.
Okay, well then, either way, like that's a smart decision.
I don't know.
Oh, Tim, just don't even trust him.
Everyone's swapping into my body.
I know. Who's in your body now, Tim?
The devil. He's making me so horny.
Oh my God, please let me cut your underwear off. I keep thinking of the scene when Heather Graham's like exploring her own body and be like, ooh, boobs.
Well, that is like in the movie Big when I almost said Tom Hanks. Oh, it is Tom Hanks.
He does, but he looks at his penis. He doesn't like start like fondling it.
That movie's PG.
Yeah, this one was definitely not. This one was definitely R, I would say.
Yeah.
But again, like we were talking about, yes, there's a lot of sex in it, a lot of moaning, grinding, but you're not seeing anything too much.
It's kind of just implied.
You see like the top of the young guy's butt, kind of.
You know what, though? I wanted to see Jonathan's butt.
That's there's Jonathan Schaech is definitely like shirtless, and he's got a body.
Why did Christina Applegate and him break up? We'll never know.
I actually didn't know they were how long were they together?
I know it was in the, when was the movie The Sweetest Thing came out? Because that's when they were together.
Early 2000s?
Yeah, early 2000s.
That was a good movie, by the way. But anyway, if you have...
I know, it's cute. It's cute.
Oh, if you have Shudder, which again, we've talked about this a lot, like most of our horror listeners do have it. And if you don't and you like horror, it's $4.99 a month. And I swear we don't work for Shudder. I'm saying this as someone who just loves Shudder. They do their own original content, and they also have tons of movies like Prom Night or Halloween on there you can stream.
Halloween 4 and 5 are on right now.
Exactly. Suitable Flesh just came to Shudder, so you can watch it for free there. And it's just, again, if you like campy, gory, fun horror, like I think you'll like this.
And I've said this before on our podcast a million times. Leave your brain at the door.
Well, that's the thing. You can't. I would say though, even with that said, I was able to follow everything really perfectly until the very end when they kept swapping back and forth between Barbara Crampton and Heather Graham, and I was like, wait, what? But I think they did that on purpose because so we wouldn't know who the demon ended up in.
The final reveal when she was smoking her vape.
Well, no, she hated the vape. It was a joint.
Oh, that's right.
And that's how we knew it wasn't, because the original Barbara Crampton liked to
That's right. And I kept thinking, okay, now that I've seen the whole movie and we're talking about it, that's coming clear to me that like she was a vapor,
but
and
at
the end, the demon likes pot.
The demon smokes circle, like, yeah, and that's the thing. And like the demon just basically he just swaps from body to body, and the person he swaps with gets like the last body he was in, and usually gets killed.
So the movie always had the demon smoking pot.
Yes, because in the very first scene with the dad,
smokes pot is a
demon. How dare you've just pissed off like most of like people.
No one that listens to Happy Horror Time smokes pot.
Oh, only Puritan Tim, who has never smoked pot. And trust me, there have been times when I was like, should I try to get Tim to try pot? And I'm like, no, you'd get all paranoid.
I'm already paranoid enough.
Have to get to, if you haven't tried pot by like I'd say 30, I would say just don't try it.
Now, what about
cocaine and heroin and mushrooms?
Pot pie.
Pot pie?
Chicken pot
only
pie.
Chicken. How come it's only is there beef pot pie?
I'm sure there is.
How come you never hear it?
Well, who wants to hear beef and pie together? Ew.
Ew. How about hair pie, Tim?
Disgusting.
Ew. I feel like that's a good time to end it.
Well, I'm grossed out.
Anyway, well, happy February, everyone.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah, well, I think, our next episode, well, we're doing a bonus episode that comes out on Valentine's Day, which is called Vamps for V-Day, and we're doing 2 vampire flicks, and it comes out on Valentine's Day. So if you're not a patron, you can sign up and get our monthly bonus episodes.
Yeah, you can listen to us talk about our non-Valentines.
Oh, but you know what?
Well, there's still time.
There's still time, Tim. You could get a Valentine and maybe you could swap bodies with them.
Ooh, I like that.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Bye. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Happy Horror Time.
This podcast is hosted by Tim Murdoch and myself, Matt Emmert. It's produced by Jacob Randall.
You can listen to the podcast directly on our website, happyhorrortime.com, or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, or wherever you stream podcasts.
We release new episodes every Monday. The first Monday of the month is always an interview with a horror star, and every other week we review a new horror film. Now, our reviews do contain spoilers, but you can check out our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter/X social pages the Friday before release day to find out the movie we'll be discussing.
If you'd like to contact us, you can send an email to happyhorrortime@gmail.com.
And if you'd like to support the podcast, please sign up to be a patron at www.patreon.com/happyhorrortime. Patrons get access to our monthly bonus episodes, all our regular episodes ad-free and a day early, our monthly newsletter, the ability to vote in our polls, and, Tim, are you ready for this?
Autographed Happy Horror Time stickers. I'm Tim Murdoch.
And I'm Matt Emmert, and we hope you have a happy horror time.